The wind moved across the plains, carrying a sound that felt like morning itself, long, hollow, endless. 3 figures pushed through the white wasteland, bodies hunched against a cold that carved through flesh and memory alike. The old Apache woman walked ahead, her spine bowed yet unbroken, her breath drifting into the air as pale spirits. At 55, she had survived hunger, battles, and the quiet fading of her people. But love was the one thing she had never buried. Her daughters followed. 2 flickering sparks, fighting a winter that wanted to swallow them. The elder was 22, the younger 20, wrapped in the last remnants of warmth they owned. Every step became a plea, every mile an act of defiance. Every home between them and the mountains had rejected them. Settlers greeted them with the barrels of guns. Not language, no sanctuary, no bread, no compassion. Their hands had knocked, trembling not, asking for pity, only for the right to keep breathing. And each time, the world turned its heart to iron. The old woman's voice, once powerful enough to beckon storms, had grown harsh from begging. Now she whispered only to the wind, promising her ancestors she would not let her daughters die beneath the open sky. Then, far ahead, she spotted a thin thread of smoke curling into gray heavens. A cabin fragile but alive. Inside, a man of 30 sat beside a dim flame, sharpening a knife meant for work, not blood. A cowboy by trade, a wanderer by spirit raised under sky and solitude. Frost clung to his beard and loss softened his gaze. Beside him rested a photograph of his mother, smiling faintly, forever captured in a brighter past. For days, the storm outside had been his only companion, clawing at the walls like a restless spirit. When the knock came, even the fire recoiled. It was not gentle. It was desperation wearing human skin. He froze only long enough to question whether loneliness had imagined it. Then he stood, opened the door, and faced the white fury. 3 shapes stood half buried in snow, eyes hollow yet burning. The old woman's lips trembled. "No one gives us shelter," she whispered, words nearly stolen by the wind. He didn't question them, didn't demand names or reasons. He stepped aside, voice low, but unwavering. "Then you'll be sheltered here." They entered softly, as if kindness might disappear if touched too loudly. Breath, shivering bodies, and quiet gratitude filled the room. He offered bread soaked in warm broth, forgetting his own hunger. The younger daughter smiled through clattering teeth, a faint spark returning. The elder remained guarded, weighted by too many betrayals. The old woman murmured blessings in her native tongue, hands trembling as she warmed them near the flame, blessing the stranger, for 4 hours. The storm battered the cabin, shaking the walls like fists. Yet within, something gentle awakened. The cowboy listened to fragments of stories, small laughs between silence, songs hummed like fading memories. They told of being driven from riverlands, walking with nothing except belief. He did not answer with sympathy. He listened the way soiled drinks rain. When the old woman's eyes met his, she saw not a rescuer, but the son she might have held in another life. Night settled heavy against the windows. He spread blankets near the hearth. "Floor's cold," he said, "but the fire belongs to you." He fixed the door latch. But his thoughts lingered on their faces, the resilience carved into their features. The quiet nobility, even in exhaustion, when they finally slept. He remained awake, staring into the glowing heart of the fire. His mother's voice returned, calm and familiar. Kindness is the only home a soul can build. Wolves howled, somewhere distant, but their voices felt far away. Peace held the room. Something inside him thawed. By dawn, the storm had died. The world outside lay still, white, forgiving. He opened the door and let the pale morning spill in. The old woman stirred and watched him framed in the light. "You remind me of my son," she breathed. He turned slowly, heart catching. "And you remind me of my mother." The fire crackled between them, echoing something ancient and shared by every soul that ever longed for warmth in a cold world. A shift passed through him, quiet, certain. Strangers had crossed his threshold in the storm. By morning he was no longer alone. Yet beyond the horizon, unfinished stories shimmered. He felt this peace was only the stillness before another storm. Snow melted in surrender, retreating like a ghost finally released. The once lonely cabin breathed, with life smoke rising, faint laughter threading through the walls. The old Apache woman moved steadily, stirring a pot of herbs and corn, scent warm and earthy. Her daughters worked beside her, their movements a silent harmony. The younger brought wildflowers each morning, restoring color to a world that had forgotten it. The elder moved quietly, thoughts heavy but softening. And the cowboy, the man who had opened his door, watched their rhythm blend with his own. He had lived years without another voice greeting the morning, without someone sharing the stillness of sunrise. Now there was always someone, herbs drying by the window, soft humming, footsteps on wood. He repaired things he once ignored, the crooked shelf, the squeaking hinge, the leaking roof, each nail an offering to this fragile piece. Evenings became gatherings around the fire. The old woman spoke of spirits and stones and rivers, of songs that healed. The cowboy listened as though the earth had waited to teach him. The younger daughter laughed often, reminding him of the sister he'd lost as a boy. But the elder, she stirred something deeper. Her eyes held distance even when she sat near. When she spoke, every word seemed chosen with care, as though it cost her something. One night, when wind sighed through the cracks, she asked why he'd helped them. He answered slowly, "Because no one helped my mother, and I swore if I met someone in need, I'd be the door that stayed open." She looked at him, softened by firelight, and something unspoken passed between them. It was the first time she smiled without fear. Spring crept forward, rivers broke free. Life returned in stubborn ways. She worked beside him, hands roughening, laughter hesitant but real. He found himself watching her without meaning to. The old woman noticed, whispering blessings when unseen. The younger teased. The elder blushed and pretended not to care. The air between her and the cowboy grew charged, like a sky waiting for thunder. Then came the test. For settlers rode through, faces hard as hammered stone. They saw the women, sneers curling like barbs. Hate-filled words followed. The cowboy stepped out, revolver loose in hand. "They're under my roof," he said. "Voice iron, you'll treat them with respect or keep riding." They measured him, spat, cursed, then turned their horses. Silence settled heavy with what could have happened. The old woman's eyes filled. She laid her hand on his arm, a wordless blessing. That night, the elder daughter stood with him under the stars, air cool with thawing earth. "You didn't have to defend us," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly. "I did." She looked at him, truly looked hand, saw not a stranger, not a savior, but a man. Flawed and kind, her long-guarded heart began to thaw. Their hands, brushed, neither withdrew. A promise formed and spoken. Undeniable, the old woman watched from the doorway, whispering, "The Creator returns what was lost in unexpected ways." Dawn found them still beneath the cottonwood, the tree where he had buried his mother. A single blossom opened, fragile in first light. The elder touched it, fingers trembling. "Spring came after all," she murmured. He looked at her, and something settled. Loneliness shifted into belonging. The cabin, once only shelter, had become home. Yet in the quiet of that moment, as birds stirred awake in morning kissed the plains, a truth unfolded. Love once found must be protected as fiercely as life. And far beyond the horizon, the wind began to rise again.